He is an alumnus of Loyola. Welcome to you, sir. From the Pontifical Gregorian University, Rome. Today, he will deal with the topic, how to develop research skills in scholars. I extend a warm welcome to you, Dr. Jeevan. Due to his busy schedule, he is unable to join us now. He will join us at the time of his presentation. I also extend to Dr. Amit Kumar, Policy Professional, MPT, Germany, for statement who has joined then the eminent I'm glad all participants, professors, researchers, all of you to thank you.
Thank you, Father, for your wonderful inaugural address, the constant support and the encouragement. It's time to introduce the resource persons. So I would like to invite Assistant Professor Sister Jolly, Faculty of Physics, to introduce and welcome our first resource person, Dr. Pushpa Rani. Over to you, Sister.
Thank you, Shalinima. Greetings of the day to one and all. It's my proud privilege to introduce an eminent speaker, Dr. Pushpa Rani Michael Raj, for today's international webinar on research skills and development. And the topic ma'am will deal with is methods of research paper presentation. Dr. Pushpa Rani Michael Raj is a scientist at Max Planck Institute for Quantum Optics in Germany, where she specializes in developing sample delivery system for molecular fingerprinting of early detection of cancer using mid-IR spectroscopy. Dr. Pushpa Rani holds a PhD in molecular oncology and translational medicine from University Magna Grazia of Catanzaro, Italy. She specializes in microfluid systems for cell studies and automation. She worked at Max for Synchrotron, Sweden, the world's brightest light source, for 2 years, where she developed several flow cells for microanalysis of precious and toxic materials. She has 6 international publications and demonstrated in more than 12 international conferences. She is keen on being a resource person and has presented in more than 4 international webinars. She is a reviewer in Royal Society of Chemistry journals and member of Board of Studies for PG and Research Department of Physics, Kaveri College for Women, Trichy, India, since July 2022. She is represented as Physicist of the Week by Germany's reputed national science magazine, DPG, in January 2022. We are happy to have you with us and I extend a very warm welcome to you, Dr. Pushparani Michael Raj. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're audible, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for confirming. Thank you, Sister Jolly, for giving a warm introduction. It's a pleasure from my side to do this presentation. And let me now share my screen.
Hello, ma'am.
Minute, I'm just,
Your voice is
yeah,
breaking.
just a minute.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Your voice is breaking.
Are you able to see the screen now, the PPT?
No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe if you can switch on your unmute your video, maybe we can see.
Okay. Are you able to see the screen now?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay. Are you not?
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah, we are not able to see the presentation. Yes,
Okay.
not yet. Can you unmute your? Yeah.
So it says that my screen cannot be shared. I think there is some setting that has to be like revoked for me to share the screen because
Okay,
it says I can't share.
okay. Maybe that present now where you may find the display, you can press that. Maybe you can have some option.
Okay, I'll try reconnecting.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Ma'am, if you can send me your PPT, I can present for the group from here, since I'm also one of the hosts.
Okay.
Yeah. And meantime, you can start the topic you have been given.
Yeah. So do I send to you by email?
Yes, by mail, or if you are already in a group, that you can send. Yeah, you can send me in the mail. Yes, ma'am, you have been enabled as a meeting host. Yes, yeah.
Hello.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, we can see the screen, yes.
Okay, and I'm extremely sorry for this trouble. I don't know what has happened.
No problem, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sister Jolly, for the presentation and the warm welcome and introduction. And I'm really glad to be part of this webinar. And thank you all for your patience so far. Yeah. So my personal introduction is already given. How I would like to just quickly go through what I've done in the past. So I'm a Bachelor of Science in Physics and Materials Science Specialist in Masters. And then I did my PhD. But I would like to tell that I was software engineer for like 7.5 years in between doing my master's and PhD. So coming back to academia or research is not so difficult, or like living through research is not as traumatic as it is being told. So I just wanted to give that part as introduction. And what are my research presentation experiences? So it started early in my Bachelor of Science. So I'm an orator even from my school days. But my real scientific presentation started when I did my bachelor's. Then I used to be one of the people in the Department of Physics, and my first seminar was on it was back in 2003 and 4. So that time we kind of ago, and so it was all like the OHP sheet, the projector. So I used to buy all the technical stuff. I had to go or write down in the libraries and then write down OHP sheets, draw. The drawings should be like as impressive as possible. So that gave me a different perspective of presenting. So that was my very first scientific presentation, and I was the winner of this seminar. However, I would like to say the experience I gained through is more than what I have won. And in my master's, I did my first paper publication, which was on the X-ray diffraction method, and this was with the international peer-reviewed journal Acta Crystallographic of Structural Reports. So this gave another perspective of how to write. And in my PhD, PhD gives definitely many opportunities than we think. So I have written 4 international research articles, all on first author, and 8 international conferences, of which one was oral, the rest were all posters. And I have also won the Best Poster Award in Slovenia with International Micro Technology Conference in 2017. And after my PhD as a postdoc, I have attended 6 international conferences and all oral. So why do I give all these information? It's just to show that how much I'm interested in presenting, why and what it benefits to me. So I like presenting in any forms possible, be it written or verbal or oral or posters. Yes, because this brings a lot of benefits, including immense confidence in the work what I do. So if it is to you, what do you do? So this also helps in subtle other ways like building network. So the main point here is to prepare you to grab every single opportunity to present your work. Wherever there is an opportunity, you go grab it. Do not hesitate, do not be reluctant at the very first stage. And this will give you more benefits than you could imagine, than you could think. Be it confidence, be it planning, presentation techniques, some nuances, niche skills, and more. Alongside the science itself, your science also grows with you. Your presentation, your hypothesis would also be like shaped better. That's what I say. And okay, so why should we present at all? So be it research. That is our topic for today. But consider a project. If it is not presented, if it is not being promoted, what would happen to the project? It would stay. In the same way, the research, the science, that has to be presented so we convey across our knowledge. So the knowledge, when it is shared, it gets multiplied, and it gets well groomed. Or else it will stay within a small circle or sometimes even inside a single person. So the more we present, the more chances are for enhancement of this. And collaboration always gives us multiple perspectives to our topic. So the presentation skills help create innovative ideas. When one comes up with some creative and interesting slides to illustrate their talk, the use of presentation aid, much more interesting. It makes the presentation to be. And the creation of such aid or like illustration will make you understand your topic more than anyone else. Then that brings the confidence that you know more than the audience. That is more important for any presenter. And communicating research to the public, it will bridge the barriers and open up dialogues. And the word for this work most of the time leaves many people like already overloaded researchers. They are not motivated because they are not awarded, they are not recognized. They feel that, okay, what do I gain by going to a presentation? Just don't get demotivated in that sense. Think for yourself. It's not going to be a short-term investment. It's going to be a long-term investment. Definitely it gives you more and more benefits than you could think. Okay, if I say why should we present, there should also be a question, why should we not present? Or what are the consequences of not presenting or not promoting? So as it is mentioned briefly ago, it will stay within small circles, be it science or the results. Why would I say about the results? Quickly we will see that. Because redundancy. You know, redundancy is evil because now we are all advancing in a very, very fast pace and the technology is like competing. So there is a lot of competition between people, between countries to be the pioneer in science, technology, arts, be it any field. So when you simply do not present your work or promote it, there's going to be someone else who has done the same work a little bit later than you, but he becomes the number one, the pioneer of that work. He takes the credit, he or she. So, or the other scenario will also be like, you will end up doing the same work that someone else has already done. So we are not in the Stone Age anymore. We have to present, we have to promote. Um, so whichever field we are, we have to be also updated. So redundancy is evil. Just remember this. Never repeat someone else's work. Reinventing the wheel is no sense anymore. And brands do not evolve. As we all know, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, everything like started inside of four walls. So if they haven't promoted, if they haven't presented, it would have never evolved to be giants anymore. And yes, this is another crucial point. Funding is so targeted because only some groups are going to present their work, promote their research, then they are going to get more funding than the ones who are not doing so. And it gets more localized. Only one country, one sector of people, or one sector of technology is going to get boosted, and we are like left alone. Nobody cares about it. And finally, no admiration. We stay in the labs, get attached to our hypothesis, and then at one point, we are not like noticed at all. But I don't think we deserve it, right?
Ma'am,
So no sales.
ma'am, one
Yeah.
interruption is that the PPT is not moving. If you can slide so that others can get help from the PPT.
Oh, okay. I
It's
didn't know
not,
that.
yeah, it is not varying. Yeah, you can just press
Oh.
next. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So do you see it now?
Now, yes.
Okay. But I don't know why it wasn't working so well. Okay. Just a minute. Let me quickly share maybe like entire screen so it gets better. Do you see the screen now yet?
It has not yet come. Maybe the earlier it is coming now.
Now do you see it like
Yes,
going to
yeah,
next?
we can see
All
now.
right.
Yeah.
Super.
Right.
Okay. Thanks for
Yeah.
letting me know the other things. Yeah. Cool. So marketing sales is not only for brands, not only for like products, applications, but it also for science. So here, what you're selling is your idea. It's the science. Yeah. And the people from arts and humanities just replace the word with yours. So what is a presentation? We should be not so overwhelmed about what is presentation. So it is a platform, simply. So this is a place where you're going to convey your information, your ideas, your products. You're going to demonstrate something, or you're going to listen to someone, some group of audience. And the main essence or the inner core of presentation is to inform someone if it is information. Or if it is ideas, you have to persuade. You have to convince someone to take up your ideas. And it is also like two-way. So you have to also accept what the ideas have brought in a different perspective. And products that goes into debate, and motivation, and building trust of what we do. So these are like handpicked orators or best speeches they have given. So you could easily recognize them. Abraham Lincoln is recognized as one of the best speakers of his era, and the latest is Michelle Obama, and the speech from Martin Luther King, "I Have a Dream," has evoked a lot of essence in the US. So it's not so political to think here, but it's about their presentation skills, their techniques, their way of presenting. So just take some time to go through what they have done, how they have done, and what are their preparation towards their presentation. Since this is a webinar, I don't think I have enough time to go into all profound details, but these are the key elements, I would say. So the medium of presentation can either be written or oral or audio. So this is called medium. So whatever be the medium, we need to basically understand that presentation is a platform where we are going to sell our product, where the product can be a commercial product like a smartphone or idea. So that is it. And what are the key elements of a presentation? As anyone can see from this image, presenter. The presenter will be the first key element of a presentation, and comes the audience. So here the audience could be more like target audience or random audience. So that is relevant, but they one of the key elements. The message, the reaction, and the method of presentation. So these are the key elements. What are the key requirements then? What should we do to start for the presentation is to prepare. The right preparation ends really well. And the how do we plan? I can easily relate. So Sister Jolly was always well organized. She was like connecting with us, communicating to us all the time. She was ensuring the topic, the time, everything. So this is also pretty important in planning planning the event to be all successful. And try to use visual aids and how to deal with stress and anxiety. So this was also like quite evident in this own presentation this morning. So I would have fallen into stress or anxiety in a couple of minutes when I fell short of not able to present. But I think we have to stop dealing with it. And answering questions is a skill, I would say. And taking criticism positively, this has to be cultivated if we do not have that habit already, because many eyes are watching into our work. There could be a different perspective which we have never thought about, and there is going to be a question from that perspective. I think it is nice or it is professional to handle such criticism positively. Never take things personally, because nobody is here to embarrass us. At least I would believe so, because what we present is our work. Somebody is going to show interest on it and they're going to question us, and that is going to only develop us, motivate us, and not to demotivate us. So just take things positively. Okay, so getting into core part of it, parts of research presentation will mostly fall into such categories like having an abstract, having an introduction, and writing methods, results, discussion, and reference. And this would be like not only for the paper presentation, but also posters would contain such parts. This is where we are going to like introduce our work to a random person, and then just bringing the person into our work, and navigating them through the method we have followed and the results we have, following with the discussion, what we have interpreted, and the references, because references are quite vital. This will show us how updated we are and how much we are following the latest trends. Why do I have this picture? I'll show you quickly. Okay, so what are the mainstream presentation methods here? Oral, poster, and written, the paper publications. Papers fall into a wide variety of classifications, because each journal has their own type of allowed publications, like letters, short reviews, mini review, communications, short articles, long articles. So there are a wide variety of paper publications. So oral presentation methods. What are the steps towards the oral presentation methods? First, it should be for an international conference. Then we have to apply for the conference, saying that they're not by the poster, but by oral presentation, for which I think we also need to write abstract and then we have to send it to the committee. Once we say that, yeah, this topic seems to be very impressive, interesting, you could go ahead with oral presentation. We are going to give we will be given, I think, 5 to 10 minutes, or it depends on the conference as well again. So we have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation, a powerful PowerPoint presentation, I would say, because posters attract people when they look good, but oral presentation have definitive audience. Once the audience are inside the lecture hall, the seminar hall, they're all going to listen to you. So make it as impactful as possible. And the presentation techniques. So where is an abstract required? In conferences and in paper publication. So why and how? If for conferences, it is like to present a poster or oral, as I mentioned, and mostly for the first presentation of work. For that reason, we'll have these abstract in place. So try to include a well-defined, appropriate topic and have reasonable background of this work or motivation, I would say, and what is the method, the approach, and results. And the results are both positive and negative. I would also shortly talk about it soon. And in the paper publication, why do we have an abstract there? Because any person who has interest in similar topic would quickly have the abstract read before going into the real paper, because he or she would look for the right science or the right content if it is more relevant to their work. So how crisp and how relevant the topic of the abstract should be, matching the rest of the contents, is very important. And here also we have the topic, background, but here what we have in addition is the highlights while we talk about the paper publication. Though they have like similar word limit, I would say the paper publication would highly recommend having highlights of the paper. So as I mentioned, it is mostly first presentation for the conferences, but there are also some conferences who invite already published work to be presented. So what does this mean? There is some work going on and that is already published, but they think that this is very, very powerful and impressive piece of work, and even if it is published, it was like more relevant for them in a seminar, in a conference setting, that it has to be presented again, so it reaches more and more audience, number one. But the interesting point here, which is not so motivating, is nobody can cite this paper, this conference paper. For the first conferences, we could do the citing work, but for already published work, we cannot do the citing. So this is only for like trending kind of papers we do this conference. Okay, so what is an abstract? Abstract is a short statement that describes a longer work, to be short. So this is from one of my papers. The paper is like 12 pages long, and you see this is the abstract. This is how this short it has to be, this brief it has to be. But it has to have vital points, highlights, and results in a brief form. So what I've said here, like just I have taken some screenshots of my abstract. So what I've said here is the microfluidic device. For example, this might be more irrelevant for some people here, but I would like to say that I'm just telling them this is the vital point, a microfluidic device. Yes. And what I have done some experiments with concentrations as low as this. So this is key point. And the other point is like, how is the device fabricated? So I just highlight here. I say, okay, this device is just fabricated in this form. So somebody who is looking for the relevant topic just quickly gets into the topic and see, oh, okay, this is a microfluidic device and this is fabricated, and the concentrations, yes, okay, this is what I'm looking for. It's not relevant, they're not going to get into the page anymore. So we have to try to attract audience and just keep them stay there. Yeah. And this is one of the relevant results, I would say. So there is no significant radiation damage because this device is from synchrotron. Synchrotron are the brightest source and they have high flux. In that sense, the device, if I'm going to fabricate, it should not have any radiation damage. So this is one of the very, very, very key results of my paper. So this is how an abstract should look like. And we have to describe it. We have to describe the purpose of the investigation. What is the purpose? And briefly, very, very briefly discuss the method before, because we're going to explain it in all details in the rest of the paper. And a single or double should be sufficient about the result. So this is a quick picture of what an abstract. So this is what I have told all this time now. Why, what, when, and how an abstract should be written. It is a study of the whole paper. And what is written there? Quickly, I say, I'll start with this motivation. And how it is written? Okay, it has two, either instruction or non-structure. So this is all about accuracy. And what is the key to an informative abstract? Keep in mind that abstract is first. Somebody is attracted to your abstract, they will definitely read through your paper or your poster or your conference, whatever be it. However, if you fail to impress the abstract, I think we can never get back the audience. Never. And remember to make it as precise as possible, however, as informative as possible. So it has to be also informative. As I said, it is a place where the audience will be attracted, will feel engaged and interested for the rest of the article or the talk. So try to attract people. So when to write an abstract? This is a very nice question because we can't start with an abstract. It's not the right way of doing an abstract. It has to start only after finishing your paper, because after finishing the paper, you will have a holistic view of what you have written so far. And because in natural way, people will get tempted to write down everything what they have done so far. And that is about the paper, not the abstract. So once you finish your paper, you will see, okay, this is how I introduce. I just pick 2 sentences from the introduction, and then I could just make a quick collaborative work of my methods, results, discussion all together in 2-3 sentences. That should be sufficient. And finally ending with a highlight. Yeah. So only after finishing your paper, you start with writing your abstract. And for oral, what do? Because you're not going to write a paper, but when you summarize your results, you can start doing this. And yeah, you have to first identify which conference you're going to present, because your abstract should be like matching to the conference theme. If it is a journal, then understand who are your audience of that journal, because understanding the demands will make you more refined to write what your abstract. And what is the scope of the journal? What's the publication house? Because there are some publications who write specifics, like microfluidics. They do only microfluidics. They do not appreciate how you have done your analytics. So they are not really interested with that. But there are some journals like PLOS ONE who invite all science in all small forms. So just make sure where you're going to write or where you're going to present the work. Be precise, know the format, take enough time to read through the guidelines, because this is where many fail. They just overlook what the guidelines are, and then they tend to lose the opportunity to present here. And yeah, finally, be aware of the word limits. Why do they have such word limits? Is that too strict? Is that making the person insufficient? No, it's exactly the opposite. If you're able to describe your work in 250, which is like the norm, 250 words, it means that you have you have profoundly understood your work. If you could present any work briefly, that simply says that you are confident with what you're presenting. Extra is always nonsense. So do not like overdo. Do not think overwriting, overdoing is like more educative. It's not. It's the opposite. So what are the types of abstract? It was also like not so recently that we have got graphical abstract into publications as well. So it is really impressive because somebody is like quickly attached. They look at the graphical abstract, they understand, okay, I like this and I like to know what is happening inside. It is not only for science, but also for the arts and humanities. I see that there are graphical presentations in the abstract, which holds to be a key now these days. So this is from one of my paper publications. So somebody who was like really into physics could be like interested and would get into this. And for verbal abstract, we have to be informative, descriptive, unstructured, because the information is all about social sciences and humanities, because they might not have as much as like laboratory or like chemical stuff to be put forward into their paper. So it is mostly going into the informative section or type of abstract. But I would say that do not stick into like the conservative method of writing. Just try to set some trends, go for some graphical representations. Even in social sciences and humanities, you can come up with some innovative ideas and not particular results. It is going to be informative. It is going to be about a study, which is just a hypothesis until then. And there are some descriptive categories of abstract, which is mostly for applied sciences, because here we will have like very structurally background, aim, and methods, results, conclusions. We just follow this because we have a background when we start with applied sciences research. So we also have an aim or motivation. We also have some strategy where we write it into the methods. We always have and end up with some results and conclusions. And finally, about the structured abstract, this is more into the clinical side, because here what we do, even in one of my publications, we have this. We have some cohorts of population which are like done some trial studies, like for example, cancer sampling. So we do blood sampling. We do not have concrete evidence of anything, but we have to present that what we study from a cohort, from a population. So this will have a series of headings. So it does not go through like the background, no, not always. But it has like a series of headings. What we did. And we also finally have a conclusion title where we say that we are looking forward to. We cannot have any evidences because these are like medical and clinical reports which have to go through a lot of studies again and again. It takes some time, 10 years, because we have to do longitudinal studies to conclude that what we have interpreted 10 years ago is still good or not. And why do we do such type of publications? This is again for peer pressure, because we have to establish that we are pioneers in doing this work. We are the first group. We are the first evidence. We are doing the first evidence of such studies. So we have some kind of pressure when we are doing the medical and clinical reports and studies. Okay, so oral PowerPoint attractions. Okay. So as I have mentioned, do not be tempted to present all your data, because For example, say we start day one, and like by end of the year, we are going to do a publication or we are going to present. So we have 365 days of data. Are we really going to get into all of the data? No. So as I've said, too much is always not appreciated. So you remember this picture before? This is an Indian meal which is presented for anyone, but it is not the same amount of food that is cooked at home, right? We cook like 5 portions, 6 portions of food. We have excess, but we present what is needed. So it is as simple as that. It is as relevant as that. You can have a lot of data with you, but do not be tempted to present everything into a paper. Then it becomes like long ever reading paper. So it is not interesting at all. Some visual supports as much as possible. Try to take some pictures. Try to include as much evidence as possible in a graphical or pictographical format, and keep it simple and short. That is also most relevant in these oral presentations, because not so many people will be impressed by a lot of things. But if you're going to have like a presentation with 2 important results, 2 important conclusions, I think everyone would feel it easy to handle. So they could easily remember 2 things. If you're going to have like 20 conclusions, 20 points to be discussed, I think not everyone would absorb it except you, because you are. And 1 minute per slide. Go as slow as possible. Essence. So we can't like take others' time for granted. Nothing will be as impactful as possible with a video, because these days I think it is also impressive to add videographic results to be discussed. Okay, so I will give an example here. One of my presentations had this. I worked with chemotaxis. So chemotaxis is a migration of cells in response to concentration gradients of extracellular signals. This is very much the definition. Anyone would like appreciate me for giving this definition. But is it really up to the mark? So now here is a pictographical representation. I see there is a cell environment, microenvironment here, and this has chemical gradients, low to high or high to low. It could be of any side in any base in this x-axis, and there are 2 cells. I say that is a directed migration, and it will be still more impactful with this. Yeah, a short animation. It says that the cells are being migrated from one concentration to the other concentration. This is chemotaxis. As simple as that, right? So anyone could now remember what is chemotaxis. Yeah. So just make use of the PowerPoint fields, because this is not something like real difficult for me to do, but this is from the PowerPoint. So there is another example. So I said that I did some cell studies with my mini incubator, what I have developed. So I say I have done simulations, I have done these volumes, and this is my result. I achieved 37 degrees Celsius in 200 seconds. And similarly, for humidity, I have done like, the result is 99% relative humidity in 100 seconds. It's as much relevant as what I have done, but I find it more interesting if I show this. I say that I simulated this. This is a simulation, but this is what my results are. So in the sorting, when it is blue, the temperature is 295 Kelvin. And at the end, I wanted this to be 325. See, I have reached that 37 degrees Celsius. And this is for humidity. It started with 0.25 and I've reached 0.7 in this relative time. So try to keep the audience engaged when you do such things. When there are some videos, people normally tend to look at it more than the words. Yeah. So for us, we have to be more attentive while we are presenting, because there is an impact that has to be created on both sides. If it is not for the audience, then it is not for us as well. So be attentive of the message, what we convey. We have to be attentive because we have to be focused. It is natural to get distracted when we are anxious. So try to bring down your anxiety or stress levels before your presentations and be focused. Enhance the need for a research. So be motivated, okay? And transfer the impact to the world of science or humanity. In general, any topic. Because impact transfer, I think we need to enable the cross-border transfer of solutions. So for example, mathematicians were doing mathematics for a long time. Physicians were doing physician stuff for a long time. It's not that anymore. We are very, very interdisciplinary. We have become more interdependent. Mathematicians, statisticians, medical doctors, chemists, biochemists, molecular biologists, every one of us in my group are working together for a common goal. So we are not like, you're a doctor, medical doctor, you're a biochemist, you are not relevant to my topic because I'm a physicist. It's not true anymore. We collaborate. So try to transfer the impact. Try to make the other person at the other end to receive your message. So there is some input from the audience that would enhance your research, as simple as that. And it is like your research. So you have to be like interested. You have to have that enthusiasm to present, to own it first, and then to present it, because this is going to create a proven impact in business model. These are extremely valuable in these days. And yeah, have a style. You have your own style. You have to have. And remember the 4 P's, which are as simple as the plan, the presentation, the preparation, practice, and presentation. So you have to remember that you have to plan well before you're going to present. You have to prepare well. Just put your sincere efforts into it. It will definitely reap you benefits. Be sincere, but not anxious, because we most times tend to confuse these 2 words. Sincerity is not anxiety, because we don't need to be anxious of the topic, what we know already to be presented. So be confident. And what are the crucial points to remember when you're going to present? Videos for publications. These days we have many social platforms, with social media platforms, which are helping us to publish our work. It is not only the oral presentations, but for the paper presentations as well. Because the papers, they cannot have video paper form, right, in the hard copy. But now we have journals which are also available on the internet. There we suggest to have video abstracts or videos that would support your topic or presentations. So try to take as much video as possible, film as much as possible, whichever you find interesting, whichever you find like unique. This has never happened before. Why should that happen? Even before you are reasoning out, just try to film it, because reasoning can happen later. You can do the analysis later, but the same stuff, if it's not going to be reproducible, I don't think we would have lost something really important. And when I talk about the pictures and videos, you have to attract audience. You cannot simply have some ugly pixelated pictures or videos. So try to have good quality and then impress the audience, I would say. There are also, with this technology advancement, I think we are having a lot of free resources to promote. There are some collaboration networks which are highly professional in their platform, where they focus only on the science and research. So you could say that Scopus, ShareLinks, Elsevier, HowCanIShareIt.com, Lay Summary, and some social media like LinkedIn are all promoting science. There are also some metrics, so that will show you, are your work getting more impact? Is your work more often visited by scholars, or how is your journal being cited. So you could look at these metrics and understand if your journal, if your research is making a real impact to the world of science or the society in general. You could also find that who have all cited, and you could start collaborating with them. So this helps you to get into more collaborations as well. So as I mentioned, there are many social media that like before. Example is LinkedIn, because presenting and promoting science. I think after pandemic, everyone has gone like, at least in Europe and West, I would say, most of the companies have gone to home office mode, and they wanted to not let their business or science go down. So they started promoting it as much as possible. It is not only from the groups, but also from the manufacturers, from the brands they wanted to establish. I can give you some examples. Okay, so this is the work from my Sweden postdoc at Maxfo. Here I used one of the components like from LV Flow. So they published a review from their behalf and they posted it on LinkedIn. So it is not only my paper talking about my work, it is also from the manufacturer of one of the components of the equipment. They wanted to do this. So they showed, like, did you know that glass-based microfluidic devices are optimal? Because they are promoting for their own brand plus my work. So try to captivate such possibilities. So here is also another promotion. These are promotions that was also handled on Twitter and Instagram. Why do they have to do this? Because they have to show that there are such things happening, and they invite collaborations. They are doing networking. Okay, so what would be okay, the title of this slide looks like a bit strange, but I could come back to the title after the subject or the contents. How to translate the failures and unsuccessful results. So are these side points or main points? How to design the storyline representation. Are the side points or main points? How to investigate a presentation. Are the side points or main points? How to effectively and efficiently communicate the results. Are these side points or main points? How to convince yourself before a presentation and your peers after a presentation. Are these side points or main points? Just think about this, because these are like very easily overlooked questions, I would say. So sometimes this gets into side points, but sometimes these are the main points, I would say. So how to translate the failures and unsuccessful results? Never hold up only the successful results, because this is natural. So many times I have seen, or any of us would have like attended conferences and read journals where they said, yeah, we are able to prove that this works and this doesn't work. No, this works. That's it. They never go for the second part of the sentence. This does not work. No. So I would say never cherish only the successful results. Negative results are as important, because failure is a stepping stone to success, but most technological advancements have stemmed from initial failures. So even well executed experiments with a clear hypothesis produce inconclusive or negative results. But the research community has become quite accustomed to celebrating only the positive findings. But one author, I think Daniele Famelli, he is a study author who carried out analysis, and he finds that there are more than 4,000 articles in various journals that gives only negative results. But why? Why should we appreciate negative results? Because these are the important reasons why we should have. The original hypothesis was inaccurate. So somebody will understand that, okay, when we are conceptualizing the hypothesis, we have to be very, very precise and try to get as accurate as possible, because that is a starting point of any research. If that is inaccurate, we are obviously getting into an inconclusive or negative research. And technical errors. There are some instruments, some equipment that would result in negative results. So this has to be definitely conveyed in some kind of journal or presentations, which will then have an impact for the fellow researchers not to fail again. Okay, so failures need to be analyzed better and profoundly. We should understand, or we should analyze why we have gone wrong, because I think that gives a better understanding of why the failure has happened and why would not the fellow researchers fail again. If we are not able to understand ourselves, then that still remains a question, right? And failures, do you know that failures can be published in high impact journals? But only when you identify the cause. When you say that something did not work only because of this, then I think we have highest chances of publishing it in high impact journals. So as I mentioned before, failures will save our fellow researchers community from failing again. I think we'll be appreciated for that, for sure. And we could have negative results also. As I mentioned before, Plotsman is not a fantastic journal group which invites everything to be published. I think they are doing a fine job in bringing research to the next level. So there are like ecology, evolutionary biology, null hypothesis. Yeah, even the journal name is like that. So even for the pharmaceutical negative results, yeah, I think we have to appreciate failures. So how to define the storyline for a presentation? There are several ways to present, adapting your style, and adding some human values to the story as much as possible, because you have a final result for the human community. I think we have to add some values. Try to establish your connection immediately, instantly, as much as possible. That will keep them engaged until the end of it. But let's not overdo, like just bringing some fancy, no fairy tales. Possibly start with a question and end with the answers, so people will be like feel comfortable in listening to your presentation. So, how to invent skills? When it is our turn to speak, we have to speak, be it in the presentation platform or in a personal scenario. When it is our turn, we have to plan to talk. We have to mentally prepare for it. We have to practice it at least 4 times is what any good speaker tells. And be confident. Don't doubt yourself. Never belittle yourself. And try to manage stress, anxiety before presentation. It's not like before presentation alone. It's like in general, we have to bring down our anxiety and know how to handle stress, because stress is caused by not external factors but internal factor. So mostly it is because of these 2 factors. When you're not confident and when you're belittling yourself, you're getting into stress. Just be confident of your work and go ahead. And how to convince yourself and your peers for presentations. You can't write buy my cakes. You have to present. You have to be confident. You can't wait for someone to come and buy your cakes. You have to do the best bet. What is that? Discuss your interest. You have to say what is your interest for this conference, or what is your interest for this publication. You just say what you have with you. What are the data you want to put into your presentation. If it is also failures, you have to convince them. You have identified the cause of the failure, then I think anyone will be convinced to present it. And have some nice graphs, because that is more representing than the words, I would say. And if your principal investigator or your superior, your supervisor feels that your results are not far enough, do as I mentioned before, never take things personally. It is not the platform for it. We have to work for the humanity, for the science. It is for that level. You are not going to take back the results to your home, but you are going to present it to the world of science. So just think that and work hard towards it. What are the mainstream presentation methods? Writing. So write day in, day out, whatever you have done. But this is not all for writing into your paper. This is not going to help. Maintain logs even for the failures and write down the reasons immediately. If you have analyzed the reason, write it down immediately because things are quite volatile and failures are easy volatile. And remember that data is everything. Finally, you have to enhance your skills, be it writing, presentation, or like designing graphics. But there's also practice. Nobody continues with such things. Skills are always adaptive and can be habituated. Yeah, so it's also important for you to know to handle the review comments and criticism during oral presentations. So that's the big difference of writing a paper and doing an oral presentation. We get the feedback right away. So we have to know to handle such criticism and how to disagree the review comments and why to go for a peer-reviewed journal, how to display the research works on various platforms. So how to disagree? Be polite, because reviewers are interested in your contents. They want it to be better. That is why they are going to give you some comments. Be polite and don't feel obliged to accept every comment because it is not right. You might have a different perspective of giving a statement. The other person, the reader or the reviewer, had a different perspective. So he or she has come up with a comment. Try to engage the comment and answer it in a nice fashion that the person is going to understand it. And make sure you address everything, because dealing with comments you don't understand is like meaningless. And okay, so why do you have to go for an international peer-reviewed journal? Because this will give you a better quality for your work. Please avoid plagiarism because that is not at all appreciated. That brings down our efficiency and reputation for the whole institute sometimes. Do not have any redundancy and focus only on the quality of the work presented. And yeah, there are many platforms, as I mentioned before. Try to include all the co-authors. Even the list is going to be like exhaustive, it's okay. But we have to show some gratitude here and credit everyone involved. Sometimes if they have done some small bit of help, like giving some samples or showing some institutions where we could collaborate, such people could be acknowledged in that acknowledgement sections. So try to credit everyone and go on with your course CID registrations. Have your Google Scholar citations involved. So try to have your impact in all social media as much as possible. Okay, finally, to develop some curiosity to discuss and present. That is from inside. Each individual should have or develop that curiosity. Try to avoid imposter syndrome. It's like, I don't have anything good, I'm not doing anything great, such things. No, strict no. And believe in yourself, feel motivated, be curious. This is from Dr. Emmanuel, who is going to present next. When we lived in Sweden, he was like presenting in he was member of one international citizen hub. And there he went on his own to write this blog. So he was very much appreciated. So try to take as much as opportunities available. So do your best. I sincerely appreciate everyone for your patience. I would be happy to have any questions. And thanks to one and all.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful and informative session. Participants can raise their questions in the chat box. Father Simon, please take the queries from the participants and present it.
Okay, there is an inquiry from Jaydeep Pandya. He says that what is the concept of graphical abstract? And second question he has put is that is graphical abstract only graphical representation or graphical and descriptive? And third question, the same person has put is there, is graphical abstract accepted thing or not for journal? Please guide us. Ma'am, can you elaborate? Can you say something on this question?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. So the concept of graphical abstract just is so recent, I would say. Why do they have such a graphical abstract? Is to quickly attract people. So when I say that I have used such equipment, I had such strategy, it's interesting to show a picture instead. Now, what is a schematic representation of the entire system? So that quickly helps us to understand what was researched on, what was the topic on. And the second question is the graphical abstract only representation? Yes, it is only a representation. It is not descriptive. It simply follows verbal abstract. So the section is going to be like this. First starts with the title, then the list of authors, then comes the verbal abstract, followed by keywords and graphical abstract. This is the format most of the times. Then the third question was accepted thing or not for journal. Yes, it is. I was talking about the journal because it is from one of us. So in chemistry, I had this graphical abstract, and this is, I think, now many journals have accepted, and they find it more interesting also to include videos. That's what I mentioned, because it is not only the hard copy journals anymore. They are going to have online versions from now on, and they involve videos as well. So I would appreciate if you could do that.
Thank you, ma'am. Many have raised their hand, but I suggest that please write the question in the chat box so that we do not lose the time and we may not say unnecessary things. So it is better so that the resource person also can see and we can answer to the point so that we can avoid the wasting of time. So those who have raised their hand, please put your questions in the chat box. And I hope that Jaydeep sir has already got the answer, ma'am. So thank you.
Yeah, good.
Another question has come from Panditwari Prabhakar, and her query is that kindly suggest tools to prepare graphical abstract in attractive way. I think somewhere you have already said, but still they are asking. So maybe some more elaboration if you can give, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So this primarily depends on the field of work. If it is like STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, I think you could start with the design tools if you have access to, like what I have shown in my presentation is from SolidWorks. So that is where I design usually. But there are also like simple PowerPoint presentations where you could have the animations and stuff. It is as simple. And now we are also having many open source tools which will help you open up 3D versions. So mostly try to have it like 3-dimensional. That helps in a way. It is more real. It is more close to real. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Again, I repeat that those who would like to ask questions, please put your question in the chat box so that the presenter also can look at the question and can answer elaborately without wasting the time. So another another, I think that Modikar Amit, somebody has already given a question. So please explain to us how to handle our criticism during the presentation or activity. In that, already you have already
Okay.
said, yes, since inquiry is coming up, so maybe some
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
things can
I'm
be
happy.
repeated.
Yeah, I'm happy. Okay, the first and foremost suggestion or recommendation from me is not to take anything personally. It is your work, I understand. You own the work, I understand, but the results are not yours. You do not own the results. It is like the result of what you have done, the strategy you have taken, the way you have taken, the approach you have taken to get to the result might get some criticism. That is the only point we have to understand. And research is always new. It's a new thing that we are doing. We are not reinventing. We are not doing manufacturing or engineering work where we have a protocol, we have a manual of, yeah, start with step 1, 2, 3, 4. Then naturally we will end up in step 10, which is the success. Here we start with step 1, which is already a hypothesis. It's only a hypothesis. It is not a conclusive stuff. So try not to take it so personally. If somebody is going to criticize the results, analyze what is the intention of it. There are some situations when people want to belittle you. If you understand the intention, then just ignore the comment, ignore the criticism. That is the best I would say. But not all times. Do not always ignore, because criticisms are really constructive, and as presenter we have to have this ethics, and as an audience, when we are an audience, also follow some ethics. Just give people only constructive criticism, motivate each other, so we grow, we evolve, because that is the essence of humanity. We can't simply like be something like we can't belittle, or we can't be so mean to our fellow researcher. We shouldn't do that. So when we say that handle the criticism, we also should think of the other person. How do we criticize others? So let's be mutually graceful and never think. I know it is not simple. I think that is a starting point.
There are another again. Prabhakar has already said how to handle the peer pressure to write a proposal at first time. So some tips on to write a project proposal.
Yeah, I think these are two big questions, because how to handle the peer pressure. First thing, I think we should have an understanding if we have a project in our mind, which can be better conceptualized with collaboration, which could be extended to a point where this idea, because this is an idea, it starts with a simple idea, which has to be shaped into a project and then a proposal, and then it gets into writing. So kindly make sure that you have a clear idea of what you are looking forward to. So when your idea is clear, then try to give it some shape by collaborating. Never, I would suggest, at least that is my suggestion, never go single-handedly for a project. Try to add in people, try to collaborate, try to have different fields of people into the project proposal, so that you will have not a single way, but like multi ways of looking at the project at the first hand. Then once you are having more than two heads, I mean, I remember saying this words, two heads are better than one. So never go one-headed. So have 2-3 people included, then share your proposal parts, like you say, I write this part of the proposal and you take care of this. It also helps us to delegate the work, and then you are there already to find out that you are getting a document at the end, which could be called a project proposal. So this is how you can channelize things. And input to write a project proposal, I think there are some templates available, but most importantly are the essence or the hypothesis of it, and then the resources needed, budget, timelines, risk and mitigation. These should be the mandatory or key elements of a project proposal, I would say.
Yeah, once again, I repeat, those who would like to ask questions or some more inquiries. So please put your question in the chat box. And I think the Dr. Jeevan Mendoza has already joined us. So we are very happy to have you, Father. The last question maybe we can take for the time being. Is a skill development program have a special method for the illiterate persons? That is what very practical, and those who are attending from India and from Jharkhand especially, they would prefer to hear these questions very personally, because the place where we work and the people we serve, or through education or whatever method, mostly we come across the people, those who are illiterate. So some points can be highlighted.
Yeah. So here I think, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Here I think the videos and pictures and oral presentations are the key tools for undereducated people, because they need
Okay.
they do not need their support. Our support in explaining, but it is only that they are undereducated. They have their own skill set. So we have to help them or support them or motivate them with the videos, picture form of explaining things.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Now over to Shalini, ma'am.
Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Pushpa Rani for giving her time for us and answering all these queries. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and wishing you all the best.
Moving on, I request Assistant Professor Anjana Eka, Department of Mathematics, to introduce and welcome our next resource person, Dr. Emmanuel. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to all. I'm privileged to introduce today's second speaker, Dr. Emmanuel, for this international webinar on research skills and development. Dr. Emmanuel is a PhD holder in physical sciences from University of Modena and Reggio Emilia, Italy, where he specialized in protein folding and unfolding using optical tweezers. He did his MS in nanophysics at the University of Antwerp, Belgium, an alumnus of Loyola College, and former lecturer in the Department of Physics, Loyola College, Chennai. He worked as a postdoc for more than 6 years in various research fields and gained fine expertise. His main focus is on the single molecule force spectroscopy using optical tweezers, single cell analysis, cell sorting, FACS, optical sensors for personalized therapies, micro-optics, and 3D metrology. Currently, he works as a scientist at Institute for Laser Technologies, Medicine and Measurement Technology, University of Ulm, Germany. Also, he is a reviewer for journal Optics and Laser Engineering. With this short introduction, I request Dr. Emmanuel to share his knowledge with us. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah. Very good morning.
Can you see me?
Yes, yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Very good morning to everyone. I'm Emmanuel. Thanks for my introduction. Is it audible?
Yes, audible.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm working as a scientist at the University of Bonn Institute for Laser Medicine, and mostly I focused on making micro-optical components to enhance the light source, and also 3D metrology. It's a 3D measurement to measure the topography of any surface. Today, I would like to present the research skills and development, how we can improve our skills and to develop our research skills. So the outline of my topic would be like research skills. Let's see what is research skill really, what it means, and the difference between search and research. So there is a thin line between the difference between search and research. What is the research methods? How we can differentiate research method and research methodology. Once we know all these definitions, how we can improve our research skills. Once we know the research skills and the definitions, we already acquired research skills and improved it, and how we can develop our research skills. And we already talked about what is research proposal and how we can write our research proposal presentation. I'm not going to touch that. So let's move on to what are research skills. So research skills is like it refers to the ability to search something or to locate or extract information and organize information, organize your data and evaluate, and to use and how you present those information. These are all your research skills, and how the particular topic is focused for particular research. So ability to search, ability to locate, ability to extract, ability to organize your research topic or a research question. You have a basic research question at the beginning, and how you will organize and how you will evaluate your research question, and how you will present those information and for a particular topic. So academic research is a specific type of research. It's different from industrial research. So academic research is a process that details the methodical investigation into some particular area. So a process of detailed and methodical investigation into particular area is what is called your research skill. So within a research skill, you must have the ability to search, locate, extract, organize, evaluate, and how you will present your information to the particular topic. And very detailed, oriented, and methodical investigation into some particular area. This is a basic definition for any researcher who will do research. And academic research is different from industrial research. In academic research, you will focus only on particular area. To intensive research, it involves a lot of intense. You must focus very much and investigate, and there are a lot of critical analysis to the specific question, or you must locate a specific research question or a hypothesis at the beginning. So it also involves a lot of reading. So finally, to find the answer for your question is what is the basic research skill. So the research skill is you must choose a particular area of study and dive into that particular area, do an intensive research and investigation, do a critical analysis, and do a lot of reading and find answer for your basic question. So you always answer to a particular question right from the beginning to end of your research. That particular question will lead your research. So let's see what is the difference between search and research. So this is, as I told earlier, this is a thin line difference between search and research. So to simplify, I would say, for example, you lost your key, door key or cycle key or motorbike key. You are searching for it, which is called search. Or making a key is what is called research. So making key, you will apply your innovation. So 7-lever key, 2-lever key, 3-lever key. So the key must answer the security question for that particular key. So that is what is called research means. So you search again and again, you answer question how I can make this key very special way and innovative way. That is what is called research. So searching key is a search and making key is a research. So you search again and again is what is called research. So for example, a police is searching for thief. It is a search. And how innovatively a police is searching a thief is what is called a research. So doing searching the things again and again is what you can say research. So research is searching again and again, and you must answer questions to what, why, who will do the research, where you will do the research, when and how you will do the research. So what search is, what is an activity you are going to do during your search. In research is a representative, like representing a scientific activity to investigate or discover empirical evidence to the truth. So that is what the difference between search and research. So when you take why, the question is why you will do the search, why you will do the research. Research is to achieve certain high level, one of the objectives, that is what is called research, whereas research is for you go in depth and detail to new body of knowledge contribution. So this is we can say why. And who will do the search? You have to decide who will do the search and who will do the research. Search can be handled by anyone, and anyone can do search, but the research to and take a short time for searching some area that is in and more importantly, how search means to go or look through a place or you explore the area carefully in order to find something you missed or lost. So I searched the desk for the letter, I searched the pen, things like that. And to look or examine a person or object carefully in order to find something concealed or hidden. The police searched the suspect for weapons, things like that. This comes under search. To explore, to examine in order to discover, the search the hill for gold. So you are searching gold. It is not researching your gold. So to look at, to read or examine your recording or writing collection for information, to search the property, a title, and we can say that he searched the courthouse for a record of the date of the land. And to look at the superficial aspect of to discover a motive, reaction, feeling, basic truth, etc. It all comes under search. So from the pictures, you can really understand what really is research. So let's see what is the research. Research is, according to the definitions, what I can say, research is diligent, hardworking, a systematic inquiry to investigation into a subject or to a question. You created the hypothesis in order to answer and discover, to revise the facts and the theories and calculations and the application for your question. Those are all comes under research. And research is a systematic process of collecting, analyzing, the interpretation. You should give a meaningful interpretation for that particular information what you collected in order to increase understanding for the readers or in order to understand the phenomenon about the question that you created at the beginning. And research originates with a particular question or a problem that we already know now. The research requires a clear articulate of a particular goal, and research requires a specific plan for processing, and research usually divides the principal problem into more manageable sub-problems. So we need to, once we created the main question, your research, that question particularly leads throughout your research. That particular question have the sub-questions. You need to answer those particular sub-questions. And research is guided by the specific research problem, question, or hypothesis we already discussed. And research accepts certain critical assumptions. So you have a critical visualization of your question. So the critical assumption. So your questions will address those critical assumptions and answers. You will find answers for sub questions and the main question. This requires the collection and interpretation of data in an attempt to resolve the problem that initiated in the research. So the research finally is by its nature, it's a cyclic, and more exactly, it's a chemical one. So research and search is two different things. So we must understand the difference between search and research. So research has a particular question and you address that question, and you have a sub questions. You always address that sub questions in order to lead your main question. It has a particular goal. And search is you lost something, you search for it. And this is the difference between search and research. So to summarize, searching for information, attention to details, taking notes, and you must have a time management in order to finish your research, problem solving, and communicating your research. So searching for, when it comes to searching for information, all researchers involves the search for credible information that you already got or you searched somewhere. You should analyze and use to arrive at an answer or a solution, whether this particular question, whether the particular information is relevant or it's the credibility of the information, is it real or fake or something like that. You have to analyze and arrive to address your question. In a workplace or the information what you will seek will likely help to complete your project and add values to your company. So research is everywhere, even when you cook or in the restaurant or you go somewhere like the restaurant. The research skill is when you book a train or when you book a flight or choosing a university course and trying to find a perfect coffee or ice cream. So you will do small research which is best, which is not good, and where I can find the best, cheapest tickets for the flights, train. So these are all small research that you do. The same way, in every institute, in every company, searching information is very important, and you pay attention to details and take notes. Having the ability to pay close attention to details is often an essential skill in every research. So your job or your research responsibility that you follow that always leads, and you must pay attention to particular detail in order to assist your main question. And you always have a taking notes skill that involves your ability and skill to gather most important information always throughout your research. Time management is also a very important in order to finish your projects. So let's see one by one later. And the communication of your results is also very important. Otherwise, your research is incomplete. You know how you must develop your problem-solving skill while doing your research. We will see that one by one. Let's go to research methods and research skill. There is a difference between a research method and the research skill. Many people think that research skills and research methods are interchangeably, but it is not. But relatively close together, but they are different. Research skills are a part of the process. Research method are what you use during the research stage. There are several stages during your research. So what method you will do what methods you adapt during your research stage. And the method for example for the research method is literature review. Research skill would involve learning how to conduct the best possible literature review. So that is the difference we need to understand, the difference between research skill and research method. Research method is one of the research method example is doing literature review. And how you will do the literature review is a research skill. And you can practice research skill and to improve your speed and accuracy and reliability, critical thinking, project management, effective note taking, example for research skills. The research method methodology. Now we know the difference between and research. What is this? Let's see what is the difference. Address your question is a research method. Whereas research methodology is a system of methods used the manner in which to perform particular here, which method is suitable. A lot of skills I skills which or thin film coating methods. There are a lot of techniques that you learned. So which method is like investigation of techniques, and which technique is suitable for my particular research question in order to understand. So the various investigation techniques, various experimental techniques, these are all called research methods. So how I can implement those skills for my research is a methodology. So how I can apply appropriately for a particular study or a particular experiment is what is called research methodology. So now we know the research methods and research methodology, the research method versus research skill, research skill and search skill. Now we know we need to improve our research skill. How we can improve our research skill. So research skills are a vital part of everyone's life, I already told. So in every small work, whatever we do, we need to do some research, either cooking or building a house or searching for a ticket, booking a flight ticket, train ticket, book for a restaurant, or choose which course is best for your career. So these are all you do, which is best, and what kind of method you adapt, how you will apply that method to address your basic question. So these are all the research skills. How you will implement your research skills into your research question, and how you will improve your research skills, and why research skills are important. So it's a crucial question that why these research skills are important. So as I told earlier, research skills are a vital part of everyone's life, and it's a vital part of writing process of a particular question, because it enables to address, to find information, to create an outline of your entire research thesis or research project. So you need to write a particular question. So right from the beginning, I always stress this one word research question or a research hypothesis. You need to write like 10 lines of research question or 10 lines of hypothesis. So this 10 lines will lead your entire research, whether it is creative or anything, whatever you need to, whatever comes in your mind, you have to write in 10 lines. Then you will address your research question. Then you need to find the information in order to address your question. And you will create an outline. I already told how you will create an outline to collect information resource that help to address the problem and evaluate this resource for the quality and relevance, and come up with an effective solution to the particular question. And you need to identify the problem with the hindering performance of the ability in order to complete your task. So identify the problem. So when you do research or you have a particular question, you will have a lot of problems, and you have to identify the problems, which is called sub-questions. So when you answer the sub-questions, when you identify the problem, you will arrive into sub-questions. That sub-questions ultimately answer your main question. And come up with variable solutions and collect information and resource from the various resources and evaluate resources and the best way to utilize those resources to promote, to increase the efficiency of your findings, and which is called problem solving. So now, if you follow this slide, you will understand how you can solve your problem. So first, you need to write 10 lines of hypothesis, find information, and create an outline. Take the notes and identify the problem. When you identify the problem, you have sub-questions. And when you address the sub-question, it will automatically address your main problem, and you will refine your questions and increase the efficiency of your main question. So this is the way you will solve your problem. And there are research skills example that I would like to discuss now: the time management, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, communication skills, detail orientation. So these are in subtopics that comes under research skills. We already discussed in one line. Now let's see how we can manage our time, how we can manage our stress, and how we can improve critical thinking, and how we can improve problem solving skills and communication skills, detail orientation skills. And if you ask me, which is the most important among all these, I would say communication skill is the prime. So that comes first. So let's go one by one. Time management. Time management skills are very essential when you do research because it allows you to break down your task. So you need to break down your task. So it will, when you break down your task and you delegate your task, you have a better planning. You know which one you need to do first, which is prioritized, and you will also set goals when you do time management and do breakdown. So you need to do breakdown, and you must have better planning when you do time management. So when you do break down your task into more manageable parts and effectively tackle each pieces of your plan. So good time management skills, including like planning, setting your goals, organizing tasks, delegating assignments. So you have students, you have a research team among yourself. So you can delegate small tasks to finish your subordinates, and prioritize your work duties, which is which one comes first, which is next, things like that. And I would say the time management, some examples of time management skills are also involved in stress management, communication, decision making, multitasking, managing appointments, meeting deadlines, organizing, and organization, self-awareness, and resource management. So these are the examples of time management. Let's move on to critical thinking. how we can improve critical thinking skill. Critical thinking skill refers to a person's ability to think rationally and analyze and interpret information and make connections between one to the other. So make connections is very important and very important. When you have a particular question at the beginning, you have a small sub questions. You must give a good interpretation for that particular question and try to connect one question to the other and all that sub question connect to the main question. So very, this is what is called critical thinking. You need to connect your notes. So when you do your experiment, you will take notes and analysis. You will do analysis, and you will give a good interpretation to one to the other. And you may not know how to. These are all kind of bits and pieces of your research, and you need to know how to connect one result to the other. So this is what is called critical thinking. So this skill is important in research because it allows individuals to better gather and evaluate the information and data what you collected and establish the significance of your particular findings and sub-questions. So which is very important in the critical thinking. You may think that this finding is useless, but if you are able to connect and you are able to interpret, give a good interpretation and meaning for your finding, that is what is called critical thinking. While doing critical thinking, you must be very open-minded and accept criticism and interference, and you give a good analysis, and you must evaluate your sub questions or some you already have some results. You need to evaluate and try to connect to the main question and give a good meaningful interpretation. And whatever you find, you just write a small note on what you found on particular day, and you must have a good observation. So these are all comes under critical thinking and example for critical thinking. And let's move on to problem solving skills. So problem solving skill is it depends on each individual. Being an effective problem solver will increase the research skill. So if you have a better problem solving skill, you have a better research skill by allowing you to be successfully identify. You are able to successfully identify the issues, whatever that comes across your research questions, and you will find the solutions to a particular problem and particular sub-questions. A good problem solving skill must be having creativity and active listening and analysis and team building and communication. So the problem solving skills which involve in creativity. So you must have a creative mind in order to evaluate your question, in order to give good interpretation, how creatively you can interpret and give analysis to your results. You may not know what it is. You may feel that this result is waste, but if you are able to give good, meaningful interpretation, then it's a problem solving skill and critical thinking skill. And you must actively listen to others' critics and take those critics and address those critics. Take positively all the critics, negative points from the team, from others. When you discuss, when you communicate your results, they will come up with a different solution that may be helpful to you. So you come up, you must have a good creativity and active listening and good analysis and good team building and communication. You will come up with good problem solving skills. You will gain good problem solving skills. And if you have a good problem solving skills, you have a good research skill. Next, I'll move on to, as I told earlier, among all other research skills, the important thing is communication skills. Whatever the results you got, you just share your results to your team, to your supervisor, to your friends. So which is important aspect of success for any researcher, because it allows individual to share their findings. So if you share your results, you will get a good interpretation among team members, critics, and you can say that this is the interpretation that I found for this particular research. In this way, you can easily understand your sub questions, to give a good connection to the main question. So there are common type of communication is report writing and data collection, data summarization, and presentation, and giving and talking and interviewing with someone. These things are communication skills. So communication skills are very important. You should communicate your results in a conference, in a webinar, in a seminar, in a team meeting, in a small group, in between your supervisor and to you and to your subordinates, and international conference. The next is the detail orientation. Detail orientation is also very important. As I told earlier, you have to note down each single result of your research. So being detail oriented person is vital during the research process, because detail orientation is important in nearly not only research, in any position, any employment, any work. Pay attention. Don't miss important details of your findings. When doing your research, ensures that you don't miss any points. So you make connection between two questions and sub questions. You make a connection between other questions and give a good meaningful interpretation, and make a connection between those interpretations that will address your main hypothesis. So for the research skills examples, we discussed time management, critical thinking, problem solving skills, communication, detail orientation. All these are very important, and communicate your results. Pay attention to everything, and you will give a good, meaningful interpretation for sub questions and connect them with one another, and must have a good time management. Once you have all these skills, how you can improve your research? You must have a broad mind. First of all, I already told you must have a critics to accept, and if there are negative comments, please address that negative comments. Positive comments are appreciated. Negative comments are welcomed. You need to address, find the question why they say this, and put that question in a group. So start a broad mind. You must have a broad mind. Then dive into specifics. Dive into specific questions. So researching is a big task. So it can be overwhelming to know where to start, and you may not know. You are nowhere. You have a question. You don't know how to start. And when you address all these questions, sub questions, and you connect, you must have a critical thinking. You know how to give good interpretation between one another, and you communicate your results. So these are all will help you to start your research, and you will also give good internet search. So this will obviously improve your research skill. So there are certain points: time management, critical thinking, problem solving, communication skills, and detail orientation. And in order to achieve your main question, you must also have a broad mind and dive into specifics. And you must have those discussed research skills. You know where to start, and start from the internet. Online resource like Google and Wikipedia, these are all may give accurate answers, not always accurate. These are all great way of way of orientation of your research topic or research hypothesis. So internet search is also very important when you do your research. So how you can search your research is like you must know the quality source and reliable source of that available in Google or Wikipedia or the research papers. So you must learn how to recognize the quality source. As I told earlier, not every source is reliable, so it is crucial that you should recognize the good source and good sources from the not good one. So to determine the reliable source, you will need to use your analytical skills and critical thinking. So you know what is critical thinking. You have the sub questions. You give a good interpretation for and analyze which is best and which is not good, and connect between one side to the other website, which is good, and compare the results and information given between these two sides. Ask yourself that will address your main hypothesis or sub question. So does this source agree with other sources? You need to analyze some. You have 5 websites, for example. So these 5 websites and 5 resources are in good agreement with each other. So in this way, you're expert in finding the good resource and quality resource and reliable resource, and you will improve your analytical skill and critical thinking in the literature review. And you should analyze that sources agree with each other. And one author is discussing one point of view, and the other author is discussing other point of view, and they all both agree to address your question or the particular question what they are discussing. So in this way, you need to find the good information and verify the information from several sources. It's also very important. So as I told, you have a lot of information available in the internet. It's a big place. For the most part, anyone can say anything online, and many websites don't evaluate the content what given. The scientific papers are also sometimes are not validated. They publish, and the content or the factual accuracy, you need to find the factual accuracy of the particular topic or particular hypothesis, what they discussed in that particular paper or site. So you need to improve your critical and analytical skill in this way and find the reliable source. which means that plenty of unreliable sources are also available. So you cannot create your questions in that. So the best way to combat this is to make sure whatever you find in the research or several different sources, you can verify which is true, which is a factual information, accuracy, rather than going off on one page to the other and gathering information is simply waste. So find the information very useful for your question and sub-questions, and factual accuracy is what is very important. And the most important thing is stay organized, and whatever the data is collected, you must process notes. During the data collection process, you will see a huge amount of information, like web page, media, videos, that will be all the information organized in using something or not. So this and everything so you know how to compose research papers or media for your research later point of your research. And bookmark in your so one of the main advantage of improving your research skill from the that use your library source. Take advantage of the library source. It's very important. You have a lot of questions during your research. The questions are not answerable. So use your library, go to library and use small elementary school books and high school books. Places that books that can help you databases can help you find your or research skills, know the difference between search and research, methods and methodology, research skills and research method, and we know how to improve our research skills. Now we need to develop our research skills. So how we can develop our research skills? So there are different steps we need to develop our research skills. Define your objective clearly, explore, note down your key findings, talk to experts, cast a wider network, develop a habit of organizing information. Let's go one by one. And do not indulge in plagiarism, which is also very important. So after improving your research skills, let's develop your research skills. Define your objective very clearly. So how you can define your objective very clearly? You already have a goal or an objective or a hypothesis or a question. In order to address that question, you need to already improve the research skills, you need to develop your research skills. So identified your goal, and you have sub goals and sub objectives that you need to address your goal. You need to find, to identify, and so you need to identify the goals and objective, and why it is very important, why it is necessary for me to do this research. This is the basic question that you need to find. You have a hypothesis, you don't know what to do with that question. So why it is necessary for me to do this research, what I'm trying to achieve. So what are the applications for this particular question? So you must be having a goal. So you will learn how to assess that particular question. What are the applications for that particular question, and why it is necessary for you to do this research. This is also very important. And you need to explore. Once you are clear about the aim of your research, you have a goal, hypothesis, you need to explore. Explore your scientific question, explore the world. So aim of your research, you need to target those research online or offline research, and read a lot of papers, read a lot of articles, read books, and read trusted blogs and trusted websites, and gather information as much as you can. Extra knowledge can never hurt anyone, therefore read as much as you can and collect information and connect the points and give good interpretation to one another. So this is the one thing. And note down everything what you found. So do not leave this step to the end. So whatever you read, just note down, because it is impossible to remember everything what you read. So therefore, write all the pertinent things down as and when you find them. So that will lead your question. So when you go through every day your notes, so this is what I found yesterday, this is what I found today, and tomorrow something will lead me. So these points give a connection to one note to the other. So that will also lead your reading capacity and understanding capacity. Another important thing is finding an expert. Talk to experts in your area. So finding area of experts is very difficult, extremely important, and it is very difficult to find your area of expertise or professors, whoever is expert in your field. Getting their appointment is very difficult. So whenever you are conducting research, so it is extremely important to find your area of expert and talk to them whenever you find. So these people will be able to provide deep insight to your questions when you talk. So talking communication is very important to lead your main hypothesis and question. And cast a wider network. So when you're going to the conference, a webinar, a seminar, or small teams, when you have a discussion, you develop a network and create a email group or WhatsApp group. And when you have an area of expert, never miss an opportunity to create a network with someone. So it is not easy always to find an area of expert. So it is very critical for any researchers. So you need to create a wider network in order to develop your research skill. So these are all help you to improve your research skill. And finally, develop a habit of organizing information. So during any research, any journey of your research, you will have to collect a lot of information. You need to recycle those information and stockpile those contacts. And you have a lot of network. You don't know which network go into this. So categorize your results and network and your data and put it into a folder in a computer like date-wise. So you will learn, organize, and how and why this network or this information is used to address my question. So that will lead to answer your final or the initial hypothesis. So organizational skills are usually beneficial in various ways, not only in research, in everyday life. They will help to deal with, to conduct your research, be it a small project or a great project. It will help you. The small baby steps will help you to achieve your final question. So when you read some websites, some research articles, you need to refer those reference, everything what you wrote in a thesis or your project. So maintain a separate files, folders, or separate section. Carefully label them, name them, the folders and files. So think of this way. So don't forget everything you read or learned. Take down. Don't leave any small information. Make a connection between one another. So in this way, you develop your research skill. So finally, do not indulge in plagiarism. So you are using somebody's idea. Take those ideas and you get inspired them, not taking their original idea. So avoid copying the information. Do not, if you copy some information, take their permission to mention the source where you took those information. Take their permission to use a picture or a tabular column or research paper or results that I need to show these results in my research paper. So do not forget to mention the source. So if you do not refer certain item, it is considered to be your original one. However, if someone can prove that you have copied the information from them, so your research will go waste. So therefore, refrain from copying anyone's thought and finding, and whenever you use them, you refer them. So that is the way you develop your research skill. So just don't copy, get inspired, and use those information. When you use those information, picture or table or something, cite them. So the next is the research proposal. This we already discussed in a previous talk, so I'm not going to touch that. So finally, I would like to give a summarize for my talk. So we discussed what is research skills, difference between search and research, what is the methods for the research method and research skill, and the research method versus research methodology, and how you can improve your research skills. Once you improve your research skills, all the definitions, things like that, you know how to develop your research skill now. And from the previous talk, you know how to write a research proposal, how to present a research proposal, and things like that. Now, this talk is open for discussion. If you have any questions, just ask me.
Thank you so much, sir, for your brilliant session.
Mhm.
I request the participants to raise your queries in the chat box. Father Simon, please take the queries from the participants, if any.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So far, we haven't got any queries. Maybe some of the questions they might have already got answers. They might have already got from the first session, and like somebody have already mentioned, it is a very informative session, and the participants are so much grateful. And similarly, we request them if they can put some questions in the chat box, so that we can avoid unnecessary time for interactions and questions. Those who would like to ask any clarifications, kindly put your questions in the chat box.
So once again, I would like to thank Dr. Emmanuel for generously giving his precious time for us. Thank you so much, sir. Now it's time to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Jeevan Mendonca. So I invite Assistant Professor Father Simon to introduce and welcome our next resource person. Over to you, Father.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I am very pleased and honored to welcome Father and Dr. Jeevan Mendoza. Once again, good afternoon to everyone. And it is my privilege to welcome and introduce Dr. Jeevan Mendoza he is a Jesuit priest of the Bombay province. Dr. Jeevan Mendoza has MBA specialization in rural management from Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar, India, and completed PhD in philosophy at the Pontifical Gregorian University, Rome, Italy. At present, Dr. Jeevan is an assistant professor of philosophy at Pontifical Gregorian University, Rome. Earlier, for 7 years, he worked at Jan Seva Mandal, that is in Maharashtra, India, in the field of primary education as a trainer and as a coordinator of supplementary classes. He taught for 2 years as a teacher of religion in English in Spain. He has conducted a number of sessions on value education, personality development, motivation, and critical thinking for students and teachers. He has published some articles in periodicals like The New Leader, Examiner, and Ziva. India is a diverse in culture, in traditions, and languages. Doctor is well versed in 6 languages: Konkani, Marathi, Hindi, English, Italian, and Spanish. So once again, welcome dear Dr. Jeevan Mendoza. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Father Simon. I hope I am audible. And I'm happy to present some of my reflections. I'm sorry I was not able to be present for the first session, but I was present for the second session by Dr. Emmanuel, and truly many points have been covered, many practical points and many general points of theory have been nicely covered by him, and many of you have also underlined the same. What I'm going to say also could be some things could be a repetition, but even if it is a repetition, I think it will give some other perspective, some other nuance. And I'm also cautioning all of you, I'm not going to really speak everything positive about research, and which is also important, which is part of being in the spirit of inquiry, spirit of research. So I will start my presentation. I will upload. I hope it is visible for all of you.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes,
Uh,
it is visible.
So developing research skills as is the topic of our webinar. What is the purpose of research? You know, we are looking at developing research skills. If we have to develop those skills, we need to also be clear about what is the purpose, what is the goal that for which we are developing research skills. And I suppose I'm not going to say something very new, but we need to be clear about it. And probably I'm going to propose some things which you might not have reflected upon or heard before. I'm just going to propose it. You could give it a thought also. So is the purpose of research just to satisfy educational requirements? You know, you have to have a degree, or is it just to enhance your CV? Okay. Or is it just for an increment in salary, for a higher reputation? Some universities do insist that the more research you do, then there is also an increment in salary, and so on. Or is it you are doing research to contribute to the advancement of knowledge? Well, all these are good aims. My intention is not at all to diminish any of these aims. These aims are practical. We have our own aspirations. We have our own desires to go ahead in life. But my also proposal is to expand the scope of research. And what do I mean by that is also have this attitude of questioning knowledge claims and facts. So you are part of a research community, a scientific community. And when I mean science, of course, I am not at all meaning only the natural sciences like biology, physics, and the applied fields, chemistry, and so on. But I'm also including the social sciences, history, geography, anthropology, sociology, psychology. All knowledge can be considered as scientific, as long as it is based on justification, evidence, observation. So could we expand the purpose of research, the scope of research, to questioning already what we know? At least questioning, I'm not saying trying to deny. Mind you, I'm not trying to deny or negate, but questioning. What we know could be true, or could it be not true, So coming to a deeper understanding, not just having a superficial knowledge or even a good knowledge, but really a deep knowledge. Also expanding the scope of research to broaden one's horizons. This is normal. When we are in a research field, we tend to specialize, and it's normal. Even within a huge field, there are so many other specializations, and that applies to any field: sociology, psychology, biology, any field. But the purpose of research should also be to broaden one's horizons. So an attempt to not to be restricted, in one's field. So if I'm, for example, doing research in anthropology, that does not mean that I should just be blind or ignore what is happening in one or two other fields. At least I should have a basic knowledge. It is important to have a basic knowledge of what is happening in other fields. Something happening in, for example, in quantum physics, or maybe something happening in the field of technology, computer technology. Some idea. I'm not saying that we need to have a deep idea, which is impossible, but the point is not being restricted. The point is to avoid being restricted in one's own field. So that is also, I think, part of research. And of course, research also needs to have a social value, a social responsibility. Not a kind of an ivory tower research. You are isolated in yourself or in your own field, and which has no value for life and for human beings or for reality. It should not be like that. That at least that at the back of your mind, you need to have this perspective. It is important that you have this perspective of social value or a social responsibility, indirectly or directly. Many times it is not possible to have a direct influence, but at least in an indirect manner. So that is the
one interruption. Your PowerPoint is not varying. Is it possible to vary the PPT?
It is not changing, you mean?
Yes, it is not changing. Only the front, the slide number 1 only is displayed.
Okay. Is it coming now?
Not yet.
Okay, then I think I will not use the presentation mode. I will.
Now it is coming. Yes, now it is coming.
Yeah, I think I will just use this mode. I think it is not coming into the presentation. So yeah, thanks for informing.
Okay, yeah.
So what I was saying is not to restrict ourselves, but to expand the purpose of research. And these are the points that I was speaking about, as you would have realized. This, which you see now on the slide, that is having a deep understanding, questioning knowledge, claims, and facts, broadening one's horizons, not being restricted in one's field, and having a sense of social value and a sense of social responsibility. Well, as I was saying, Dr. Emmanuel has spoken a number of research skills, and some of it might be a repetition here. But I think most of these skills, the importance of these skills can never be overemphasized. So Edwin Hubble, the great astronomer, has said about 3 important skills as a scientist, which could also apply to any researcher. Having a healthy skepticism, having a healthy skepticism, not just any kind of skepticism. Suspending your judgment. So basically not just jumping to conclusions, and having a disciplined imagination. So an imagination, of course, but something which is disciplined. These is, of course, what I'm going to add is not, it's not just something original of mine. It's known, and Dr. Emmanuel also spoke about it. Critical thinking. I would like to add here critical thinking. I think it's a very important skill, and its importance can never be overemphasized, and having an interdisciplinary approach. So this is what I was referring to when I was saying about broadening one's horizons and not being restricted with one's own field. Here we see an example of healthy skepticism. There was, of course, the geocentric model, which most of us, or all of us, would know about. We have done this in school. And what is shocking is that this geocentric model, that the Earth was in the center and the other planets were moving around, including the sun, was a strong dominant model for 1,500 years, mind you. Now, 1,500 years is a long time. It's not, we are not speaking of 100 years. We are not speaking of 200. 1,500 years. This model was eventually kind of developed or designed, finalized by Ptolemy, and it remained for 1,500 years. And they were making all kinds of attempts to fit into this model, though there were many problems, and then there were mathematicians, astronomers who were just trying to fit and solve problems within this model, until one man came, Copernicus. And Copernicus, truly what is known as the Copernican revolution, he turned things upside down, and he proposed the heliocentric model, which of course it's commonplace now. Mind you, he faced a lot of difficulties that time. But what could have really led Copernicus to insist? And I think it could be said that he was skeptical. If he was not skeptical about the geocentric model, surely he would not have thought of an alternative, thought of another possibility. And this is what is important. Of course, that was at a very huge level, but that does not mean that it cannot be at our level. We are, of course, we are doing research, or we are trying to do research in our own way, and at that our own level also, at whatever small it could be, we can have this skeptical attitude. And that is part of being a researcher. It is not something different. It is part of being a researcher, having a skeptical attitude. Having a creative imagination. Of course, this example is also very popular. I'm referring to the imagination of Einstein. Once again, Einstein truly brought about a revolution in physics. We still will not be truly understand, most of us, what is exactly, Einstein's understanding of his mathematical model of reality, because we live in space and time, and it is very, very normal for us to consider space and time as distinct. Space and time are distinct entities, but he had that incredible imagination of looking at space-time as a space-time continuum and proposing the four-dimensional model of reality, which time becomes the fourth dimension. Of course, at practical level, we would not really require, we don't require this four-dimensional model, as is quite obvious, but it is something that defies common sense, isn't it? It is something that still we wonder how he would have had that imagination to propose and then to do the equations and the solving those mathematical issues and processes using that four-dimensional geometry. Because traditional geometry is three-dimensional. Traditional space is Euclidean, of Euclid. But he did not, he skipped that. He kind of bypassed that and used the model of Riemannian model. And also, of course, the other mathematician, Minkowski. And really brought about incredible revolution, especially in astronomy, in the study of stars. So that is the creative imagination we also, each of us, are called to have in our own ways when we are doing research. So it is not to think that, oh, I'm just a very small researcher, or I don't have that much. No, at least have the desire. It is important to have that imagination, and somewhere it can bear fruit, So having that creative imagination is very important, and even just the desire of being creative is important in research. Otherwise, we might just follow the current, just do what is expected of us. And then, therefore, there will be no true research. When I'm speaking about research, as I was saying, I'm going to also question the research that is happening. And I have two questions in this regard. Are scientists or researchers, for that matter, free from prejudices, fixed mindsets, conflicting beliefs? Do scientists or researchers always search for the truth? Now, of course, most of you or all of you might wonder, of course, what is this question? This question does not make sense. Naturally, we scientists always search for the truth. And there might be prejudices, there might be mindsets, but scientists, researchers are aware of it and they will not allow it to influence that research. Well, but I'm sorry to say that is not always the case. I will show you examples. And we are really complex human beings, and therefore, if we are not really aware, we can be influenced by our pet theories, our prejudices, and that could also influence our research. Now, take this example. Now, Carey is a scientist, and is as you will see later, I'll give more information about him. But being a scientist, now he is convinced that AIDS is not caused by HIV virus. He says this is has little or no scientific basis. Now, of course, I'm not surprised that you are shocked to hear this, right? But he's saying that the scientific community and the common people believe this, but this has no scientific basis. Now, Carey is also convinced that the release of the CFCs, the chlorofluorocarbons, into the atmosphere, creating a hole in the ozone layer, is also false and baseless. Mind you, this is not an ordinary person. This is a scientist who is saying that CFCs affecting the ozone layer is false. These ideas, according to him, are universally accepted by scientists because they are just out of money. They are just out for money, according to him. Now, you would just wonder, am I really giving the right information? Is Carey really a scientist? And because he seems to be having very vague beliefs, isn't it? Vague beliefs. Well, I'll give you something more information about Carey. His full name is Carey Mullis, and he holds a PhD from the University of California. And he is no ordinary scientist, dear friends. He is a Nobel Prize-winning scientist. He has received the Nobel Prize. And very significantly, in the context of the pandemic that we are still smarting under, and we faced devastating consequences last year and last 2 years, he was in fact awarded the prize for his invention of the polymerase chain reaction, the PCR. Of course, when I say PCR, all of you would have definitely nodded your head. Yes, the RT-PCR, the test used to check if one has COVID or not. Basically, it's a tool to allow scientists to clone DNA in large quantities. Now, his invention actually has helped for the COVID testing also. Now, that's why now definitely I'm sure you would be all the more shocked that this scientist does not believe about AIDS being caused by HIV and also does not believe about the ozone layer. Well, that's what I was trying to say, that we can have our prejudices. We can have our beliefs which can really influence our research. Just to give you another example, there is this scientist, Michael Yeadon. He is a researcher in respiratory diseases, mind you. So definitely, all the respiratory. And despite being that, he joined the anti-vaccine movement, saying that it causes infertility in women. Now, of course, there has been lot of opinions and contra opinions and arguments and counter arguments about the benefits of vaccination or the ill effects of vaccination and so on and so forth. But overall, at least evidence always says that vaccination is something beneficial. There is something which can lead to adverse effects, but in general, there has been evidence that vaccination is beneficial, and therefore evidence points to the contrary about referring to the opinion of Michael Eden and others. Evidence points to the contrary. So vaccination has beneficial effects. And yet we know these are scientists and these have beliefs, and these are not isolated examples. So therefore, my point is, please not to assume, if we assume again, that would be against the spirit of research and inquiry. We need to question. So we should not assume that researchers and scientists are free from prejudices and fixed ideas. And including all of you and including myself, we have our own fixed ideas, and that could come in the way of our research. So we need to be aware. If we are not aware, then we'll be influenced. Now, there has been an extensive study about lots of studies being done in the social sciences, okay? And which point out, as you see in the slide, I'm reading it, a team of researchers rechecked several studies and found that the evidence for most published findings was not nearly as strong as originally claimed. Mind you, these studies have been published in distinguished journals. And when a team rechecked, they found that it was not as strong. Dr. John Ioannidis, a director of Stanford University's Meta Research Innovation Center, estimated that half of published results across medicine were inflated or wrong. Noted that the proportion in psychology was even larger than he had thought. Mind you, these findings are published in good journals, distinguished journals, and they were not that they were false, not that they were fabricated, mind you, but they were inflated, they were partially distorted, they were partially meddled with, and wrongly presented and represented. So this also can happen in research, dear friends, and therefore it is important to be aware and see and counter-check, counter-checking, not just because you find in one place some studies, some findings, some conclusions, not take it as the truth, but checking, counter-checking is very, very important, and that is also part of research. Now, Dr. John says that this problem could be worse in other fields. So it is something across the board, it is not something restricted to one particular field of research. So he was even seeing in cell biology, economics, neuroscience, clinical medicine, and animal research. Of course, this is his hypothesis. He is not giving any justification for that. But the other point, yes, has been justified and has been rechecked and shown that studies are not as genuine as thought to be. Now, what is driving all this? What is driving all this? Why would researchers, whom we would assume to be pursuing the truth, searching for the truth, would do this? Of course, there's a very hyper-competitive culture. The competition culture, which is not just restricted in the corporate world or in the world of business. Also in the field of research, there is too much competition. There is drive to show novel, sensationalist results instead of pursuing the truth. So there is a strong drive to be higher than the others, of this one-upmanship to say. And of course, there is a lot of power, interest, politics, vested interest. All this, my dear friends, can also seriously sabotage, genuine research. And being in research, we need to be aware that this happens, not just assume that everything is hunky-dory in research. Definitely not. Nothing is hunky-dory in research. Basically, research is done by human beings, and where there are human beings, always there are some complexities, there can be problems, and the field of research is not immune to it. My point, of course, is not to discourage you, not to demotivate you, but just making you aware, precisely because this is also part of research. Having a critical mindset, having a genuine mindset, having a mindset to know the truth, to know whatever is the truth. And what is this leading to? Leading to, as the title of this slide says, mistrust of science. Many people are just wondering whether scientists and researchers are truly giving genuine information, or are just, catering to vested interest. And those who are thinking like this are not really, it is not something baseless. There is some truth, there is some element of truth in it. And therefore, we need to be aware of it. That's why I come to that question: does the scientific community always pursue the truth? Well, if it is always, I would say the answer is unfortunately no. And there are many examples. Some examples I've given already. I will give two more examples, very strong, shocking, especially the second one is a very shocking example, a very sad example also. One is, of course, the case of coconut oil. Now, when I was small, I remember very clearly there was such a negative campaigning about coconut oil. Coconut oil, especially in Western India, is very commonly used. And there was always a sense of negative. It has high cholesterol, it is not healthy, it should be avoided. And apparently it was all false publicity, just to encourage or to force people to change their cooking coconut oil to other types of oil which are produced by the big companies, And the truth has come out now. Researchers are coming out saying no, coconut oil is something very healthy. It has good cholesterol, and there is nothing wrong in using coconut oil. Well, you see, this is the same scientist who 30, 40 years earlier was speaking against it, and now there are other scientists who are speaking for it. So it shows that scientific community, unfortunately, does not always pursue the truth. And mind you, I'm saying always, not always, but yes, most of the times, yes. And of course, it is true, but sometimes it is having their lots of vested interest, and we need to be aware of it. This is a very strong and a sad example of Alice Stewart. I don't know if you have heard of this remarkable woman, Alice Stewart. Alice Stewart was a cancer specialist working in England. She was one of the few in the 50s, one of the few cancer specialists, women cancer specialists. And she was really trying to solve a problem. As a real fantastic, astute researcher, she saw that there was a problem of childhood cancer. Many children were having cancer, blood cancer. And she was trying to see what could be the reason. And she found out that there is connection between radiation and childhood cancers. The pregnant women who were exposed to the X-ray machine, their children, when they were born, developed or tended, there was a higher probability of the children getting cancer. When she published her results, it was met with a strong opposition. Mind you, instead of welcoming that research, she had given a lot of justification, she had given the evidence, but unfortunately, it was opposed. And why was it opposed? Well, it was opposed because naturally the radiation industry and those that were involved in it, the commercial interest, were not happy with it. And there were some scientists like Richard Doll and William Coate Brown who also strongly opposed her. And Richard Doll was a distinguished authority in cancer at that time. So whatever he said, unfortunately, was considered to be the truth. And therefore, Stewart, this remarkable woman, was excluded and ridiculed and put down by the scientific community. Mind you, this happened for 20 to 25 years, not for 3 or 4 years. This happened for 20 to 25 years. And finally, it came out that Richard Doll was receiving lots of money from these companies. And that is a scientist receiving money from the companies to publish that there is no connection between the X-ray radiation and childhood cancer. But eventually the truth could not be hidden, and Stewart was very much right, though it took a long time. And thanks to her, if you enter any hospital, any clinic having X-ray machine, invariably you will see a sign, pregnant women not allowed. I'm sure you would have noticed also, many of you, when you have gone for any X-ray checkup or any hospital having X-ray, at the entrance of the door, it is written, pregnant women not allowed. And it is thanks to this woman, this amazing, great scientist, Alice Stewart. The point of giving the example of Alice Stewart, dear friends, is, mind you, the scientific community is not always pursuing the truth. It can be sabotaged. It can be influenced by vested interest. And we need to be all aware of it. And therefore, not just accept everything just because it is being said. We need to recheck. We need to look at the justification. And in that, I would like to propose some research skills. That is, having a teamwork. Working in team is important, not as individuals. The more we are working in a network, Dr. Emmanuel also spoke about this point, being in network, working as a team. Because more we work with team, the more we learn from each other, and knowledge really becomes a communitarian activity. So an inseparable part of developing research skills is becoming aware of our prejudices, but also developing knowledge, looking at it as a communitarian activity. So do research in teams. And why not involve students also? Encourage students. Not say, oh, what can students learn? What can students do? No, encouraging them in research, in research problems, in some research questions, and seeing that surely there will be much more synergy, much more energy that will be generated for research. When we are also teaching, encouraging research by not just making sweeping statements, some teachers, some professors, we just tend to make sweeping statements. We do not worry about what is the justification. Are we giving enough arguments? Are we giving enough justification? I'm just giving an example from biology. Now, the forces of evolution, the Darwinian forces of evolution are natural selection, genetic drift, random mutation, and gene flow. But what exactly are these terms? Are these just told to students just because this is believed to be so, and the scientific community has told us? Or really we try to understand what exactly is natural selection, what exactly is genetic drift, what exactly is random mutation and gene flow? Do we really understand these concepts, or we just learn them as mere words? So I'm just giving the example. This example can be, can be applied to any field of research, any field. It is important to have a deep understanding. If we are not having a deep understanding, it is not possible to do research. So even a theory which is an established fact or an almost established fact, like the natural selection, the theory of evolution, there are some scientists who are questioning it. And therefore, as I'm saying in the title of the slide, there should be room for dissent. There should be room for difference of opinion. Of course, not like Kary Mullis, the example I was referring to earlier, because Kary Mullis does not giving any justification, is not giving any arguments for his beliefs. He's just making beliefs or believing off the hat, as it were. No, that should not be. There should be room for dissent, and those who are expressing dissent need to give good arguments, adequate justification, or at least some justification for thinking whatever they are thinking. And that will produce knowledge. When there is dissent, when there is difference of opinion, that can produce much better knowledge. So I'm quoting here Dr. Rebecca Keller, who says, if we as scientists are not allowed to question, ponder, explore, and critically evaluate all areas of science, but forced to comply with current scientific orthodoxy, then we are operating in a mode completely antithetical to the very nature of science. And I fully agree with her. Just because something is believed in science. Now, for example, the theory of evolution. The theory of evolution is explaining many things, the Darwin's theory of evolution along with genetics, but there are many things which are still not explained. For example, the complexity of life. How can life be so complex as it is and just be explained by natural selection? Or mathematically also, there are mathematical problems with the theory of evolution. If there is something more information is needed, please, I will give my email ID later and I can refer to you about these things. But for now, I was saying about the students. So please do encourage your students to ask questions. If express disagreements, don't be angry, don't ridicule or insult students when they express their disagreements. That is very important. That is also part of being a researcher. So you are not just involved in your own research, or you are not restricted to your own community, but you are including your own students also in the field, in the process of research. So it is, let students not merely answer questions, but also question the answers. And that is also part of research. Not just merely answering questions, but questioning the answers. As I come to the end, towards the end, knowledge should not be just self-correcting, but also self-improving. So Atul Gawande says that an attitude of acceptance that nothing is ever completely settled, that all knowledge is just probable knowledge. Mind you, this is the true spirit of science. Science can never claim to have absolute knowledge, because if it is absolute, then there is nothing more to research, isn't it? But this is the best knowledge we have at this point of time, but tomorrow this all can change. Now that is the spirit of science. It is not settled. And the great scientist, the quantum physicist Max Planck, says in this regard that science advances one funeral at a time, So some things science will give up and negate and will move ahead. The theory, the Newtonian understanding of gravity, was making sense, was answering so many questions for 150 years, and yet came Einstein and, kind of negated it and showed a much better theory of relativity to explain gravity. So science advances one funeral at a time. And also having this realization, dear friends, that science cannot explain everything. Now, this is not easy, but true scientists are aware of it, are fully aware of it, that science cannot explain everything because human knowledge has its limits. There is a very interesting book in this regard, What We Cannot Know. I don't know if you have heard about this, by a mathematician, Marcus du Sautoy. He says there are some things that not that we will not know now, but we will never ever be able to know. Just because of our human capacity, our human capacity is not unlimited, it is limited. And therefore, science having this attitude and an acceptance that everything is not explained by science. And therefore being uncomfortable with, sorry, it's not uncomfortable, it's comfortable. And therefore being comfortable with uncertainty. So one needs to be, it's not easy to be comfortable with uncertainty. But that is something very important in the spirit of research and inquiry, that we need to be comfortable with uncertainty. We are not found the solution, but yet we will continue finding it, what is the answer. And all this can be had with having an intellectual humility. So if we are humble, if we have this, developing this intellectual humility, and many researchers, many scientists are promoting it, that yes, we need to be humble. We need to be intellectually humble. We need to do everything possible in the field of our research, not leave any stone unturned to find the solution, to find the answer to the problem and the question. And in that, we need to be intellectually humble. So to summarize what I have spoken about, having a healthy skepticism, developing a critical thinking, a thinking which questions also orthodox and conventional scientific beliefs, having a creative imagination, also realizing that scientists are not always objective, scientists are not robots, scientists are human beings, and therefore they are not free from prejudices. They can have their pet theories, they can be jealousy, they can be politics, there can be financial gains, vested interest. All this can sabotage research, and that is also important to be aware of. But yet, always, there are remarkable persons like Alice Stewart and many others who are always committed to the truth, who are able to face the many challenges that come their way and yet stand by it, not give up. And I think Alice Stewart is an incredible example in this regard. Making research more a communitarian enterprise and less an individual activity. So let all be involved, expand your networks, and adopting an interdisciplinary approach. Whatever is your field, please don't be restricted by it. Look at other fields, study books or read articles from other fields. If you're studying biology, do a little bit of research about sociology, a little bit about anthropology. That will help you not just personally, but I can say even in your research. Recognizing that science cannot explain everything. Mind you, dear friends, science cannot explain everything. And searching, exploring with intellectual humility. So you continue to explore, continue to look for the truth, being intellectually humble. So thanks a lot for your patience, for your listening. And as you see at the corner of the slide, that is my email ID. In case later also you have any doubts or you want any references to the things I have spoken about, I can give you the whatever I have spoken about is as enough, as like I have cited it. I've cited in the sense I have referred to it and I have rechecked it myself, and I can give you the references for the same. I would really highly recommend this book, What We Cannot Know by Marcus du Sautoy, which tells us that there are limits to human knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Such an interactive and extremely and insightful session. Dear participants, you can post your questions in the chat box. Father Simon, please take the queries from the participants.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So far, I haven't got any queries, but I have got a lot of compliments. The session was very thought-provoking, very informative session, and so on. And I also personally feel that this talk was very thought-provoking. And as one of the recent research scholar, young one, she wrote the Gundulam Boss, her name is that, put the philosophy back into the doctorate of philosophy. And I think Father has been teaching in philosophy in various fields. So Father has philosophized the possibility that how we can be more human than just the data collector. We can be more thinker in various fields, and it is not naming one field but various fields. So thank you very much, Father. I don't see any questions so far. As the Father, you have already mentioned about that your talk was very, I personally felt that it could be also useful for the young students, and especially those who are working in different fields. And maybe we can invite you once again to talk to our students so that your talk will be more helpful for them also too. Now one inquiry from Manisha Kumari. She says the same. Can we get involved the students for the research, and how can we start? And I think you have already mentioned in the talk. And so thank you very much. A wonderful session. And I only get the compliments so far, no queries, and only one query was already you have already said. So I just repeated what you have already said. So thank you very much, Father. Now
Thank you, Father.
I'll just say one thing. I have already shared the PPT with Professor Shashi. So anyone who would like, I think Professor Shashi can share it with all of you, whoever wants it. And
yes,
yes, feel free to use it.
Thank you, Father. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Jeevan Mendonca for giving your precious time and valuable input for us. Thank you so much, sir. May I request all of you to put on your camera so that we can have a screenshot of this, the speakers and participants.
Before that, ma'am, I just would like to announce to the group that I'm just posting the feedback form, and that will be available for half an hour. And so once you fill in the feedback form, the automated generated certificate will be given to you. So that was the announcement. Okay.
Thank you all. It has been a wonderful virtual gathering. We are grateful to all of you. May I now request Assistant Professor Sanjay Martin, Department of Chemistry, to propose the vote of thanks. Feedback link will be posted after the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable and most distinguished resource persons, Dr. Pushpa Rani, Dr. Emmanuel, and Dr. Jeevan Mendonca, respected principal, Dr. Father M.K. Jose, honorable professors from different colleges, research scholars, and all the student participants. I, on behalf of the organizing committee, St. Xavier's College, Mohadar, take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to all those who have made this webinar on research, skill, and development successful. First of all, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speakers for gracing today's webinar and for sharing with us their knowledge and findings. They have enriched us with excellent presentations and thought-provoking address. Dr. Pushpa Rani has enlightened us on the purpose and various methods of research paper presentation. She highlighted the importance of abstract presentation. Dr. Emmanuel has enriched us with his research skill and methodologies, giving importance to critical thinking, problem solving, identifying goals and objectives, and networking. He guided us towards how to improve and develop our research skills. And Dr. Jivan Mendonca has emphasized on expanding the purpose of research to broaden our horizon. And he has also inspired us to cultivate research skills in his students. Thank you, dear speakers, for your creative and informative sessions. I'm sure that all the participants are benefited a lot from you. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our principal, Dr. Father M.K. Jose, for giving permission for this webinar. Thank you, dear Father, for your motivating words and guidance. A special thanks to the organizing committee for taking efforts to make this international webinar possible, for contacting the resource person, and for promoting with other colleges and universities for participation. I'd also like to thank all the professors from our college and from different colleges for their moral support and guidance. Thank you very much for making the sessions interactive. Finally, I heartily thank all of you, all the participants and students who have turned up in such a great numbers. Thank you very much for your active participation. Once again, thank you everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for delivering the vote of thanks. You have expressed gratitude to all on behalf of the college. Thank you once again. The webinar has officially been concluded. However, the meeting will be on for a few more minutes. I request all the participants to kindly fill and submit the feedback form. Dear participants, you will get the certificates after submit the feedback form. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you once again. See you for the next webinar.